We live in very interesting times, don't we? Interesting in lots of different ways. Politics, finances, technology. But I don't think the times are interesting because of how polarized politics are, COVID, or any other thing. I don't think that it's interesting because of the economy or because there are those who claim that within our grandchildren's lifetime we'll be able to grow organs and have no need for organ donations or replace them completely with tiny miniaturized electromagnetic devices. No, I think the times are interesting because it's so easy to be a saint. Today, it's so easy to be a saint. Think about it. In times past, and not all that long ago, fervent Catholics aspired to leave their families and all they knew to go to foreign lands to convert pagans. Or they wanted to be like St. Francis and risk martyrdom by boldly marching into Muslim strongholds to convert Muslim leaders like Saladin. Or they heroically cared for those stricken with plague or leprosy, risking catching the disease themselves, all because Christ said, whatsoever you do to the least of these, my brothers, you do to me. Nowadays, some consider it an act of heroic virtue to go to a 1 p.m. Saturday Mass for a wedding and then attend Sunday Mass too. Someone who cancels their subscription to Netflix and sends the money to the poor would be considered by some to be a living saint on the order of Saint Mother Teresa of Calcutta. Now, of course, I'm engaging in hyperbole here, but there's nevertheless a kernel of truth to that, don't you think? The fact is that people, though they admire the saints, at the same time surely consider them odd and think it even odder and perhaps a little crazy that you and I would aspire to be one. But even as committed Catholics, we need to think more in saintly terms in our daily life, don't we? By that I mean, think about the last time someone asked how you were doing. Were your first thoughts formulated in the context of Christ, in the context of being his disciple? For myself, my answer when I don't just say fine often depends on my mood, how that day's been thus far, whether things are going my way or not, and so on. But as saints in training, shouldn't our first thought, shouldn't our entire orientation, shouldn't our very lives be Christocentric, centered and infused throughout by Christ? Indeed, instead of speaking about what Christ is doing in my life, as if I have some kind of service contract with our Lord and I'm evaluating his performance in that regard, shouldn't I rather be thinking of whether I'm serving my Lord? Whether I am abiding in his will, regardless of whatever my present circumstances might be. And in one sense, if I'm aspiring to be a saint as some kind of self-improvement project, then I have a very immature understanding of sainthood, one that can even be an occasion of sinful pride. For being a saint is ultimately not about us. It's about loving him. It's about loving them, loving the least to the greatest of his children, our neighbors. A mature understanding of sainthood realizes being a saint is about laying a firm foundation for the sake of those who will come after us. Saint Teresa of Avila, in her book of Foundations, wrote to her sisters about the first holy members of the Carmelite order. And what she wrote applies to you and I as well. She wrote that people don't remember the saints who lived long ago as much as the ones they see before them right now. And we are the saints our neighbors see. And so in every age, we're charged with heroically loving God and our neighbor. Because to the world, the holiness of God and his church is perceived through the lens of those who are his disciples today. So, if I may co-opt a very familiar Bible verse, we are to be holy because they, that is, the world, is to be holy. We're to be holy out of love for him and of course, but also out of a profound love for those who he loves, the world. Saints love God above all else, but they show that love through the gift of their lives to the world, that the world may come to know and love him as well.